Hello there, thanks for joining us this Friday. I'm Ras Adibaradzi and these are tonight's top stories. LGBT culture not acceptable in Malaysia. Suspected kidnappers shot dead in Sabah. And scores of passengers feared dead in Tanzania's biggest ferry capsize in over a decade. Assalamualaikum and it's good to see you again. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad today told the Human Rights Commission of Malaysia, Suhakam, that Malaysia has different value systems than those in the Western world. He said while the government agrees with Suhakam on certain issues, Malaysia cannot accept the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender culture and same-sex marriage, even though they were considered as basic human rights in the West.
Kita tidak boleh terima umpamanya LGBT, perkahwinan antara men and men, women and women. Our concept of family remains the same. That is, a couple with children, with their own children, is a family, or even adopted children. But two men or two women is not considered a family.
The Prime Minister said this after the Special Cabinet Committee on Anti-Corruption in Putrajaya today. Other than that, he added, it would not be considered as a family. In July, Suhakam was reported as saying that the government must stand up for everyone while firmly upholding the principles of equality and non-discrimination in accordance with the Federal Constitution. Suhakam Chairman Tan Sri Razali Ismail had said that all human beings, including those from the LGBT community, should be provided access to, among others, education, employment, housing and healthcare services without discrimination. Politicians will no longer be allowed to be appointed as ambassadors. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said the government has agreed to a proposal on the matter made by the Foreign Ministry and added that politicians currently serving as heads of mission abroad would be recalled.
Foreign Affairs has requested, and we have agreed, that there should be no political appointment as duta, as ambassador. There should be no political appointment. People who are retired and all that are given rewards to become Perdana Duta outside. We will not allow that. This is a strong action against ourselves, because of course there are many members of the government party which would like to enjoy life as a diplomat.
In addition, the Prime Minister also announced that the government had agreed to draft a Public Services Act to improve the promotion process for senior management officers and come up with one that was transparent. Although the promotion of officers is determined by ministers, this cannot be executed on a personal basis. He said this after chairing the 4th meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Anti-Corruption. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Muhammad V has consented the appointment of lawyer Azhar Azizan alias Harun, or better known as Art Harun, as the Election Commission Chairman to replace Tan Sri Muhammad Hasim Abdullah, who vacated the post on July 1st. In a statement today, Chief Secretary to the Government, Datuk Sri Dr. Ismail Bakar, disclosed the approval by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong in line with Article 3(114) of the Federal Constitution. Datuk Sri Dr. Ismail said with Azhar's qualification and experience, he will be able to perform his duties and responsibilities as the EC Chairman. The Kedah-born 56-year-old Azhar holds an LLB degree from University of Malaya and LLM with merit from King's College, University of London. He started his law practice in 1987 and is serving as an advocate and solicitor at Messrs. Azhar and Go. Parti Rakyat Malaysia PRM confirmed today that it will be contesting in the Port Dickson by-election on October 13th. Its president, Hashim Saluddin, said the decision is in line with the party's desire to take the role of a constructive opposition in the best interests of the people. According to Hashim, PRM wants to use the Port Dickson by-election as a platform to remind the Pakatan Harapan government about its promises made in the last general election manifesto.
Isu PRM boleh menang atau kalah itu bukan jadi satu isu penting. Tetapi yang penting ialah membangkit isu rakyat. Kenaikan harga barang, kebajikan rakyat, kestabilan ekonomi Malaysia masih menjadi isu besar.
He also said so far there are 3 candidates shortlisted as candidates for the seat. The Election Commission has set September 29th as nomination day and early voting on October 9th. Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim today said there is nothing wrong with Tun Daim Zainuddin meeting UMNO members. The PKR incoming president also said he had met 2 UMNO leaders recently and even asked them whether they wanted to remain in UMNO.
Bagi saya tak ada masalah. Saya juga ada pertemuan yang kerap dengan Tun Daim dan kita bincang perkara bersama. Saya tidak fikir ini harus dijadikan satu isu yang boleh menimbulkan ketegangan di antara kita, kerana semua pimpinan saya percaya di parlimen, di luar parlimen ada perbincangan. Tapi masalah dibangkitkan perbincangan kononnya ada satu komplot nak membawa seluruh UMNO untuk menjatuhkan orang itu semua tafsiran yang saya sendiri secara peribadi tidak layan.
He was commenting on UMNO Supreme Council member Datuk Lokman Adam's allegation that Jeli MP Datuk Sri Mustafa Muhammad had left the party due to pressure from Tun Daim. At the press conference, PKR also officially announced Datuk Sri Anwar as a candidate in the Port Dickson by-election. Port Dickson MP Datuk Daniel Balagopal Abdullah had vacated his seat, paving the way for Datuk Sri Anwar to contest the seat in his attempt to return to Parliament. Meanwhile, PKR Secretary-General Datuk Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said the Negeri Sembilan election machinery had already held its meeting regarding the by-election. He also said the election machinery will be led by Negeri Sembilan Menteri Besar Aminuddin Harun. Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Aziza Wan Ismail today stressed that she is against child marriage and does not condone the practice after recent criticism of the government's handling of the matter. She said her response to the marriage of a 15-year-old girl to a man nearly 30 years her senior was based on a report by the Welfare Department officers in which the marriage was based on mutual consent and was sanctioned by the Tumpat Syariah Court in Kelantan. In a statement, she added that the best interests of the child must always be considered. News of the girl's marriage, which took place in July with the consent of the Sharia court, came 3 months after the uproar caused by another underage marriage, in which a 41-year-old rubber tapper, also in Kelantan, took an 11-year-old girl as his third wife. Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Aziza, who is also Women, Family and Community Development Minister, said in July that the government would amend the laws to raise the marriageable age for girls from 16 to 18. In her statement today, she reiterated the pledge, adding that marriage should not be used as a way out of poverty. She said she had chaired a meeting with the relevant stakeholders on September 13, during which several agreements were made. She said a paper on raising the minimum age of marriage for Muslims will be presented to the meeting of Menteri Besar and Chief Ministers to garner support from the states to raise the legal minimum age. She said a cabinet paper was also being prepared to raise the minimum age of marriage to 18 for non-Muslims. Now, a bill to prohibit child marriage is in the works and will be tabled in Parliament by the end of the year. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Datuk Dr. Mujahid Yusof Rawah, said the bill may involve the enactment of a new law or amendments to existing legislation. Datuk Mujahid, who is in charge of religious affairs, said the bill will be drafted based on a standard operating procedure (SOP) that was created following his discussions with experienced Sharia judges and non-governmental organisations. He stressed the new bill is vital in preventing more cases of children below 16 marrying a person who is much older. According to the Islamic family law enactment, the minimum legal age for marriage is 18 for a male and 16 for a female. Those under the legal minimum age will be permitted to get married only if they had the consent of their parents and the Sharia court. It was reported that in 2016, there were over 9,000 child marriages recorded over the previous 5 years. In other news, police in Sabah have shot dead 2 men believed to be involved in the abduction of 2 Indonesian fishermen after a high-speed chase at sea near Bohayan Island last night. A white pump boat believed to have been used for the kidnapping of the 2 Indonesian fishermen on September 11 near Sempurna was also seized.
Pemeriksaan atau serbuan dijalankan, tiba-tiba satu buah bot telah melarikan diri keluar daripada kawasan perumahan kapal air Kunak 3 tu. Dan ekoran daripada itu, satu tim gabungan daripada IPK Sabah yang itu ada ACP Muhammad Nasaruddin, daripada UTK dan juga daripada Eskom telah bergerak memintas bot tersebut dan berlaku kejam-kejam dan berlaku berbalas tembak di sana. Dan hasilnya bila sampai di kawasan perairan Bola Buayan dan 2 penjenayah telah dapat ditupaskan.
The anti-crime operation at the water village also saw 18 undocumented men rounded up and 16 pump boats seized. The men in their 50s had no identification papers. Police also recovered 2 revolvers, 8 live bullets and a samurai sword from the suspects. Meanwhile, in Johor, 2 foreigners suspected of committing a spate of robberies in the state were shot dead by police in Bukit Batu, Jalan Sedena early today. Police said at 4:15 a.m. the suspects were cruising suspiciously in a car when patrol officers ordered them to pull over. Instead, the driver of the car rammed into the police vehicle and tried to speed away before it skidded. At that juncture, the men began firing several shots in the direction of the policemen. The officers returned fire, killing both suspects and seized a revolver, a machete, face mask and gloves. Police believe they have solved about 15 robbery cases which occurred in Johor, especially in Johor Bahru, Pontian, Kulai and the surrounding areas. In Pulau Pinang, police seized ganja weighing almost 80 kilograms in a series of raids in the state on Wednesday, along with the arrest of 3 syndicate members. The operation, which was conducted between 12:30 a.m. and 5:30 a.m., was focused in the northeast and central Seberang Perai districts. A member of the syndicate was detained at Solok Pekaka and police seized drugs hidden in his motorcycle. Upon further interrogation, the suspect led police to a house in the same area where more ganja was found. Police subsequently nabbed 2 other suspects and found ganja hidden in a 4-wheel drive. The syndicate had been operating for a month and the drugs, worth 236,000 ringgit, were meant for local distribution. The 3 suspects, aged between 31 and 42, have been remanded until September 25th to facilitate investigations. In the courthouse, a fruit seller pleaded not guilty at the Aikro Sessions Court in Melaka on 2 charges of abusing 2 of his sons last month. The first charge stated that 47-year-old Ao Kok Yan had beaten his 7-year-old son's hand, chest and slapped the child. Ao was also charged for hitting his 5-year-old son's hands and throwing cigarette butt at the boy. The charge carries a penalty of a The charge carries a penalty of a fine up to 50,000 ringgit or 20 years jail or both. Ao, who is not represented by a lawyer, pleaded for a lower bail by citing that he has to work to support his wife and 2 children. Judge Elizabeth allowed bail at 15,000 ringgit and set 23rd October for submission of documents and appointment of a lawyer. Ao's wife posted bail. 6 private employment agencies have been found violating the Private Employment Agencies Amendment Act during Ops Patuh 3.0 carried out by the Subang Jaya Labour Department today. Subang Jaya Labour Officer Deputy Director Mas Pupa Bajuri said all 6 employers involved will be charged soon. 12 locations around Petaling Jaya, Shah Alam, Puchong and Kota Damansara were inspected in an operation involving 24 state officers. Among the offences committed included lack of agency licence and failure of providing employment details such as foreign worker recruitment. 7 investigation papers have been opened and are being investigated under Section 7, Subsection 2, Private Employment Act, which carries a fine of not more than 200,000 ringgit or imprisonment of not more than 3 years or both if found guilty. After the break, they say flying is the safest way to travel, or is it? Find out more after this. Welcome back. Now let's take a look at our daily segment, Clickbait, for what's trending and making rounds in the cyber world today. Now, every mode of transport, say buses, trains or airplanes especially, require careful attention in ensuring safety for its passengers. But a careless mistake on board Indian airline Jet Airways left passengers with a terrible nose and ear bleed and caused the flight's crew to be taken off duty pending an investigation. This is what happened. The Jaipur-bound Jet Airways flight was forced to return to Mumbai on Wednesday after news of passengers injured were received. Just as it touched down, investigators were on site, and it was later found that the crew had apparently forgotten to turn on the switch that is meant to regulate the cabin's air pressure, which resulted in oxygen masks automatically deploying as well. Videos posted through Twitter by user Darshak Hathi showed the more than 160 passengers attempting to put on the mask, but unfortunately, some over 30 of them were unable to and suffered from bleeding from their ears and noses. The plane made the turn back as the passengers' symptoms started to get more alarming. Children were also suffering. A doctor said that 5 travellers are suffering from temporary mild deafness and they're currently recuperating in a Mumbai hospital. In a statement, Jet Airways admitted and apologized the mistake in a statement on Thursday morning. But passengers are angry that the airline has not given any further information or received further help on the incident besides the turn back. It is alleged that one of the injured passengers has asked the airline for a $42,000 compensation and threatened to sue the company if it's not fulfilled. Meanwhile, in light of the grave mistake, the flight crew have been suspended from their duties and are currently pending investigation by the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. Oh, that's scary. Moving on, Apple fans are dedicated, to say the least. This is especially true in Singapore, as Apple fans have started queuing outside the Apple Store on Orchard Road about 24 hours before the release of the new iPhone XS and XS Max today. And this gave Huawei a cheeky idea to promote their product. According to sources, Huawei staff were seen handing out about 200 power banks to people in line at about 11 p.m. to get them through the night, with each power bank retailing at approximately 242 ringgit. On top of the next level marketing strategy, Huawei attached a heartwarming note with their power banks. One can only wonder if the smartphone giant was sending a message to Apple. Now, that's very clever, don't you think? Now, updated as of 7 p.m, here are the top trending topics and searches on the internet today. Proton Holdings Berhad has resumed exports of Proton cars to Egypt after halting shipment to the country for almost 3 years. Some 225 Proton cars of various models are scheduled for shipment on September 22nd from North Port Klang and are set to arrive at Alexandria Port in Cairo on October 6. In a statement, Proton said its exported cars in Egypt will be distributed by a local distributor, Alpha Airs Al Arab, which owns 7 branches and dealers in the country. Alpha Airs Al Arab has also ordered an additional 280 units to be shipped next month, as it plans to purchase a total of 1,000 cars by the end of this year. Apart from resuming new car sales in Egypt, the distributor will also be introducing Proton's new corporate identity in 3 outlets, marking Proton's first outside of Malaysia. The national car maker last exported its cars to Egypt in December 2015, involving 320 units of the Proton Gen 2 and Persona, but stopped exporting cars temporarily due to weaker local currency. Now, the Enforcement Agency Integrity Commission, EAIC, will be strengthened and converted into the long-awaited Independent Police Complaints and Misconduct Commission, IPCMC. This was announced by Tun Dr. Mahathir at a press conference after chairing the Special Cabinet Committee on Anti-Corruption in Putrajaya earlier today.
EAIC akan dikenali sebagai, the name has been changed and the officers also will have to be transferred sebagai Suruhanjaya Bebas Aduan dan Salah Laku Polis, IPCMC, akan bertindak sebagai sebuah badan pemantau bebas yang lebih holistik.
It is learnt that the decision to convert the EAIC into IPICMC was taken after it was found that the bulk of public complaints lodged with the EAIC concerned police misconduct. The decision was among 7 papers discussed at the meeting today, which will be brought to Parliament. Meanwhile, the Public Complaints Bureau, BPA, will function as the Malaysian Ombudsman. An Ombudsman Act will also be formulated so that public complaints can be managed more effectively. A new Malaysian Aviation Council will be formed to thrash out issues related to the nation's growing aviation industry. The council, chaired by Transport Minister Anthony Loke, will hold its first meeting next month. Topping its agenda is identifying the best financing model for airport expansion in the country.
So everyone involved in the aviation sector have to sit together in one council to thrash out issues on any operational issues, on any policy matters that we can move the aviation sector forward, that can be brought up in the council. Because I want everyone to sit together, to come together, to discuss issues, so that the ministry will have a better grasp of the issues on the ground, and we can formulate our policies better.
The Minister also said the Council will meet every 3 months to discuss aviation issues and policy matters. He was met earlier at the groundbreaking ceremony of the dedicated processing centre, which cost 2.7 million ringgit for departing crew at KLIA-2, which helps airlines save up to 40% time, or about 21 hours a day. Aside from the Aviation Council, Loke also chairs the National Logistics Task Force, National Transportation Council, Malaysian Shipping and Maritime Council. After the break, several killed in Maryland's murder-suicide. Don't touch that dial. I'm Rasa Dibarazzi and you're still with us on 7 Edition. On to world news. Over 100 people have died and scores were feared missing after a ferry capsized in Lake Victoria, Africa's largest lake, with a desperate search for survivors set to resume in Tanzania until late on Friday. The NV Nyerere ferry overturned near the shore of Ukara Island, close to the dock, on its way from Bugorora. It is feared that more than 200 people may have drowned. The ferry's official capacity is 100, but officials say the vessel was carrying more than 400 passengers when it sank on Thursday. It is thought that the overloaded vessel, which was also carrying cargo, including sacks of maize and cement, tipped over when crowds on board moved to one side as it docked. Exact figures, though, are yet to be confirmed because the person who dispensed tickets for the journey also died, with the machine recording the data lost. So far, 37 people have been rescued and are in critical condition. A shooting at a warehouse in the U.S. state of Maryland claimed 4 lives on Thursday, including a female suspect who shot herself in the head. Authorities say they haven't identified the suspect's motive, but reports say that the woman had a work-related grievance for some time before the incident occurred. The suspect, identified as 26-year-old Socia Mosley, was a temporary employee at the Rite Aid distribution centre in the state, clocking in for work as usual that morning. But shortly after 9 a.m. local time, she began shooting outside, then inside the facility with a 9mm Glock handgun that she had brought with her. Officers were dispatched to the area in under 5 minutes after reports that multiple people had been struck by gunfire. But by that time, the suspect had shot herself and later died in hospital. Besides the 4 deceased victims, 3 others were shot but survived and are currently recovering in hospital. Police discovered that Mosley was from Baltimore County and that she owned and had registered the handgun. Authorities are yet to investigate the cause behind her attack, but mass shootings by women are rare, with more than 95% of such attacks in the country carried out by men. It was the tiniest of Chile's soldiers and police officers that stole the show and the internet at Chile's annual military parade on Wednesday, when a group of 9 golden retriever puppies parading alongside their fully grown brethren, both humans and dogs. Take a look at the newest members of Chile's National Police Canine Training Unit as we wrap up 7th edition tonight. I'm Ras Adibarazi. Thanks for watching. Until we meet again. Good night. Assalamualaikum.